Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something. Hi there, welcome to another episode of MacGyver's Workshop, and I can tell you that this is going to be one unlike you have ever seen. It's a different side of MacGyver here that you haven't ever seen before, so let's get cracking. Okay, so back in the day when I was turning wrenches and, well, even before that really, when I was in the Navy, it helps to have a hobby, and music was that hobby for me. And I grew up in a very musical household. My mother sang and did all kinds of great stuff. She could play piano, she could, she had a great set of pipes on her. But, so I was predominantly drawn more towards keyboards because, of course, with my mom, we had a piano in the house. And, of course, all my friends, they were drummers, drummers and bass players and guitar players and all that sort of thing. So it was only fitting that we ended up with a band when I was like 16 years old or 15 years old. And a friend of mine, Dale Sheeler, from back home, he still had a picture of us. It's pretty crazy. I'll post it here. Well, without any further ado, we'll just get on into it here. So now that we've finished our house building project, and I can maybe relax a little bit and occupy my time with a hobby aside from the workshop, which is still work because I'm out there getting sweaty doing stuff, fixing people's cars and all that sort of thing, and whatever else rolls in and needs fixing. So this is more of an enjoyable way to burn time. So I've gotten back into my music, and God, I suck. But anyway, I'll get my mojo back sooner or later. But let me give you a nickel tour of my little music room studio that I set back up. So back in the 90s when I was seriously playing, I had this Ensoniq ASR 88, which at the time in 92 or 93 when it came out was pretty much the audio workstation keyboard. And but it's basically an Apple computer at its core. It takes Apple memory and has little RAM sticks in it, just like an old Apple computer had. Sims, I believe they were called back then. And then everything was loaded in via floppy disk. And they were much like Apple floppy disks at the time. Now with the ASR 88, it also had an optional SCSI bus on it, which is Small Computer Systems Interface to those not familiar. And that was predominantly a big computer thing back in the day. All your heavy computers had, used SCSI hard drives and that sort of thing. And you could take and hook a SCSI hard drive up to this thing and a SCSI CD-ROM and load all your sounds from CD. And now these days I'm not using much of that. I use the hard drive to boot it, and I pretty much just use this as a controller because I really like the feel of the keyboard. It's a weighted keys, much like a piano, so you can really do you get that feel of a piano with the heavy heft of the keys. So, but I predominantly use it to control my Integra 7 and use the sounds in it, which I have like a metal guitar sound loaded up right now. So you can just see how it does. And it has aftertouch. The harder you press on the keys, you can modulate the sound. do all kind of cool stuff with it. But anyway, so not much of that's not worth much if you can't record with it. So what I have is a little pretty hefty computer that I built up there in that rack mount case, and it has a 4-drive disk array in RAID 10 for storage, and it's pretty much just a high-end i5, and I think I got like 8 gig of RAM in it or something, and which is really all it needs to do what it needs to do. And then what would be the sound card or audio interface is the Focusrite there, and that's a Focusrite Scarlett, and it's an 18i20. So it's basically that stands for is 18 inputs, 20 outputs. Though I don't ever use that many, I just use the 8 there on the front and have everything routed through the patch bay there. So all the outputs, like that has like 8 outputs on it, so they go to the patch bay, and the Lexicon reverb, the ins and outs of it are in the patch bay, so I can plug everything up whichever, which way I want it. So sometimes the plugins and all are really good, but sometimes you just want that little dirty outboard reverb to give you that sound that you want. And then I use the DAW I use, or Digital Audio Workstation, is Studio One 4 Professional, and I pipe it through 3 monitors. I have an NVIDIA GTX 650 card, or 750, no, 650, sorry, card in there. 750's in my video workstation in the other room. And these are 2 Philips 32-inch monitors, and that is a Panasonic Viera. It's a 43-inch HDMI capable television. Basically, it was our old TV forever, and it never amen. And when we went up to the 80-inch, this one kind of got relegated to sitting in the closet, so I thought, well, might as well make it useful. So anyway, the way I got my DAW set up is I use the one monitor for my console view, which gives you kind of like a mixing console sort of layout there, and then all your effects and sends and everything are all up at the top of the channel strip, and the pretty much any other instrument or information you need. There's a whole bunch of options I can click over there, and then the master is right over there. And then up here is the actual DAW track. I have a mixture there of recorded audio. I've got a bass loop up there on the top, and there's a MIDI drum track, and then a couple of audio tracks. And then over here in the left hand side there is the that's the MIDI editor for the drum track. And then I'm using Impact XT for it's like a VSTi instrument. So let's just fire this thing up, and we'll start from the beginning. Now I have it set to loop because I have a it's only like 58 seconds long, but we'll just go right here and click play. The bottom track is I've got choral, Oz. Next one up, that was me. You see the Oz coming in there at the bottom. And the guitar, and I can add some more to it. There's the drummer over there doing its thing. I have to say, much more reliable than most drummers I know. But Rick Cahill, you're excluded. I know you're a good drummer and you're reliable. And the bass loop, well, I have to use that because I am nowhere near good as my best buddy Dale Schiller, who is like the most awesomest bass player in the world that I ever knew. And just all around good bass player. And then over here is my mixing console, so I can solo up the bass line. There's the bass drum, or kick drum. I have a rim shot snare there. That's closed hi-hat. And here comes the Oz. They're down there at the end. And there's the guitar track. You put them all together and that's what you got. And of course I can control it from my keyboard too. Now some of the other stuff, the other gear I have in here, this is not actually mine, this is my son's, but he left it here when he went off to college in the military. It's just kind of a Mexican, you know, Fender Strat, little Squire thing. Not the greatest guitar in the world, I'm sure, but it plays, and even I can make some good sounding garbage on it. And I am nowhere near a guitar player, trust me. So, and then of course we also have a selection of microphones for various tracks that or things that I may be recording. So. I've got the MXL here, which is actually a very good condenser mic, a large diaphragm condenser mic. It was really good on vocals. And also have a CAD, large diaphragm condenser mic. That's over here in the case. And I have a shotgun mic for more directional audio if I need to do that. And the usual collection of stuff, you know, I got some Phantom Power stuff there. I got a little, that's the amp that went to my son's guitar. Some other miscellaneous old gear there. What you would probably think is every audio patch cable known to man, but you'd be wrong. It's far from it. But that's enough for what I do and what I need. And then all that gets pumped through a set of Atom Audio T7Vs, and they basically use a 7-inch woofer and a ribbon tweeter, and boy, they are sweet. They're the most realistic sounding speakers I've ever seen. I've had my heart set on a set of Yamaha's HS8s, and I heard them side by side, and these just blew the Yamahas away. And they're about $100 less each speaker too, so can't go wrong with that. Let's see, what else? The obligatory guitar tuner and a separate little multi-channel headphone amp that I use that I can run out of the patch bay there to get out multiple headphone mixes if I have a couple, 3 people in here, which would be rare, but anyway. And of course, what would it be without the obligatory Doctor Who swag? I don't know if you noticed the you know, little TARDIS pencil holder there, and the Doctor Who sign, the Doctor Who beach towel, the TARDIS. And of course I got my own little TARDIS out in the yard there covering up the sump pump, and you know, and of course we can't forget Slash. He's like, you know, dude's just cool. Anyway, so that's a little quickie tour of my little studio. So I hope you liked it. And you know, it's by no means you know, no means anything big or outlandish, but you know, it's mine, and you know, I make some good music out of it, and it's fun. That's what's most important. So anyway, thanks for watching, And stay tuned. You never know what we're going to be doing next.